Chairman, and thank you, Ranking Member Johnson. General Bolden, I represent Livermore, California, which has two of the NNSA labs, Lawrence Livermore and Sandia. And I imagine that when you talk about systems and technology, and if we were to require a weapon to deflect something that was incoming, a near-Earth object that was incoming, that some of that technology will have to be or has been designed at one of those laboratories.
So if that's a question,
yes.
If that were the decision, but again, I would go back to what Dr. Holdren said earlier. I would not consider a weapon, you know, to deflect or to save Earth against this type of threat. I would consider the development of appropriate technologies that could enable us to. We're talking about earliest detection. You're talking about deflecting. I mean, it's a tiny amount if you catch it far enough out. And
now let's assume it's late stage detection.
Oh well,
I imagine our choices get limited, right?
Yes, sir. But I don't. You know, that's not my bailiwick anymore. I don't do bombs and rockets and stuff.
Well, General Shelton, those two laboratories in my district, I imagine they would play a critical role if we had a late stage detection of one of these near Earth objects.
Yes, sir, I would think so. I mean, there are only a limited number of ways to generate the amount of energy required, and probably nuclear energy is what we're talking about here.
Is there a way to guarantee that one of these near Earth objects does not hit on a Friday? Because right now in my district, all of the federal employees at those laboratories are furloughed on Fridays. And I know in Congresswoman Edwards' district, some of those NASA employees that are trying to detect these incoming objects, I think they're going to be furloughed on Fridays too. So
no, sir.
No way to.
We are not planning to furlough employees. I just wanted to clarify that. So they will be there on Friday.
Okay.
But in seriousness, I have to go back again to say several things. One, these are remote occurrences. Two, the plan that the President has put forward, I think, will adequately address our technical capability to be able to deflect an asteroid in due time. You know, if we find that we are tracking literally thousands of asteroids today. If the civilization destroyer that Dr. Holdren talks about, I mean, if we can't discover that early enough, then there's something wrong with our systems. So,
sure. And so in our district, it is a fact. There are furloughs at our nuclear laboratories. And you're not concerned at all that sequestration affects our readiness to protect
Sir, that wasn't the question you asked.
So my question
I am very concerned with the effects of sequestration, but that wasn't the question. And so, yes, I am very concerned about the effects of sequestration on all of our ability to do what it is you ask us to do. You know, you're talking about impacting our ability to keep our facilities operating safely. You're talking about just the mental strain on our employees not knowing whether they're going to be able to come to work tomorrow. I try to assure them every time I can that I'm not planning to furlough anybody, but they know better than I do that the Congress could take some action and all of a sudden the administrator doesn't have a clue what he's talking about because now I've got to lay people off. My intention is not to do that. If your question is there a bad effect of sequestration? Yes, sir.
That's my question.
Yes, sir.
How about for General Shelton?
I'll tell you, sir, just about my every waking moment these days is based on this topic. I've just pulled the trigger on $508 million of reductions in just my major command alone from now to the end of the fiscal year. 20% cut in pay to my civilians. There are resources that are used for missile warning and missile defense that we won't be able to operate at full capability. There are things that we use for space surveillance that we won't be able to operate at full capability.
In general, do you think that makes us more or less prepared to handle a near-Earth object?
That is not what we do. That is NASA's responsibility. We contribute serendipitously at times, but we are focused on things in Earth orbit.
So if you had to focus on something in Earth orbit, would it make you more or less prepared having to have these across-the-board cuts?
We are clearly less capable under sequestration.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I yield back the balance.